Okay, welcome to the August 15th edition of my weekly address. It's been quite a while. I thought I'd just give everybody an indication of what's been going on with me lately, or the topic of channeling and things. So I've been splitting my time between checking out the Urantia Teaching Mission, reading the Urantia book, reading Matthew Lewin material as it comes out, and then trying to keep abreast of the latest Cottrell readings that Rammsteinregeln is posting, although I've got a little backlog there. I still have to listen to some of them. And dealing with the Paul Solomon Foundation, looking at some of the newer readings, and then of course dealing with the sound therapy table, the PRE table, and also scientific research based upon ideas from these readings. It looks like I may be gearing up to do some more research that's actually funded this fall, which will be exciting. So anyway, just to start with, I have been struck by this excessive preponderance of prophecy, prophetic revelation, of channeling that is coming out, and it seems like there's more things coming out of the woodwork all the time. And I was reminded recently of a Paul Solomon, I think it was a Paul Solomon reading, where someone was asking, what's it going to be like? What's it going to be like in this, when these changes come about in this modern time, this new era? And one of the things that the source said was, you will see prophesying, the likes of which you have never seen. And, the idea was that it would just be people everywhere were being channels for this, the spiritual information and whatnot. And it seems like that's exactly what we're seeing. I mean, the Matthew Lewin thing really strikes me as wonderful on several counts. And I don't know too much about him yet. I've talked to him a couple times in emails, but he just started channeling. Apparently he just had the first inklings of ability to do this in 2005, started channeling regularly, I guess, in 2008. And now he's like channeling a whole spirit team, so a number of celestial individuals there, and he's also channeling apparently extraterrestrials, which would be mortal ascension. This is using Urantia terminology, mortal ascension type beings from planets such as our own, maybe not exactly in this dimension, but still, as opposed to some kind of celestial order or angelic beings or something. And it's just incredible to me. It's like I don't know what you want to call them, the aliens, the UFOs that not UFOs, the aliens that he's channeling, whatever. They seem to be very interested. Apparently they're from somewhere around here, because they refer to a group of evolutionary mortal races or planets or whatever that will be affected by these coming changes. And apparently they have to do with the sun being the trigger for a lot of this stuff, solar activity. So I'm wondering if they are actually some of these extraterrestrials that are referred to in the various readings in other dimensions, but still in the solar system or something. I don't know. But what's interesting is that these extraterrestrials seem to be interested in helping us, because apparently the human race is like one of the farthest behind in the grand scheme of being aware of what's going on and scientific ability, whatever. So they're interested in helping us, and they apparently don't have the same restraints that the spirit teams have, because like for instance in Paul Solomon readings, the information will talk about will hint at, like the superconductors and this new type of energy that's infinitely renewable, and it doesn't require the destruction or consumption of anything to generate it. But then in the same breath, they will turn around and say, well, I'm sorry, but we're not allowed to say anymore. You know, we're just dying to reveal this simple formula to you, but we can't, you know, and we're not allowed. And apparently these extraterrestrials don't have that, which would make sense, you know, if they're not part of that hierarchy. It seems like everything's fair game as far as evolutionary worlds contacting each other and dealing with each other or whatever. So they know, apparently they do know how to implement stuff like this, and they have apparently selected, maybe others, but definitely selected Matthew Lewin as a channel through which they are going to try and convey enough so that we can start to build these types of generators, or almost like, it seems like they're collectors. You know, they like collect the energy from the Earth's varying magnetic field or whatever. So they're currently dealing with them, and they've just started a series of readings that are designed to implement way more detailed information than has ever been implemented. Apparently, Matthew Lewin has some engineering folks that are either working with him or reading his readings that are involved in reviewing the material. I don't know what his background is. Maybe he has some kind of background in that stuff as well. So that's, to me, that's really fascinating. And it really does seem like we're going to start to get some concrete information. In the last few of those, they've started to get really specific about describing the structure to build, where to put it, what the components are made of, what are the basic parts of this machine going to be. And so basically it seems like it involves I don't know my electronic terminology good enough. So I don't know, maybe we'll have a separate reading on that kind of stuff, because a lot of it did seem familiar to me. I'm by no means an engineering genius or anything, but I have had to get into the basics of how lasers work and things. Well, because of the Casey readings that dealt with this kind of material. So some of the things he's talking about are quite familiar. So I may have another one where I talk about what I've read so far about those designs more in detail. But it's just really, I don't know, I guess I kind of have mixed emotions about that. On one hand, it's like, wow, it's really cool. We're actually going to start to get something that is an irrefutable advance in technology simply from a psychic source. But on the other hand, you feel like, well, man, it's too bad we couldn't have figured this out for ourselves. You know, we have to be like handheld and helped along in order to achieve this in time. You know, their whole thrust is that they want this kind of technology to be implemented before the infrastructure we have breaks down to the point that we're like helpless. Because apparently, due to the nature of the economic changes and or earth changes and several other things, our normal system of having centralized generation of power, and that's distributed to like millions of people, that kind of thing isn't going to work. It's not going to work very well, and it's apparently supposedly going to break down. And what they're trying to show us is how to locally generate power for small groups of people. And they are trying to deal with how to scale it up for larger groups, because obviously we do have big cities and large population centers that are going to need this kind of thing too. So, but anyway, the idea is so that even if everything did break down, people would be able to maintain, if these things were in place, they would be able to maintain them well beyond the duration of any kind of setback in civilization due to natural disasters or whatever. So yeah, lots of really fascinating stuff there, and I'm getting to be almost 10 minutes here, so I'll have to cut this off and probably start another one. But great things are afoot. There's just a lot of new material coming out all the time now. I can't even keep track of it all. So maybe I'll touch on that some more in the next address here or whatever. But until then, check out Matthew Lewin, check out Monjoronson.com with the Urantia Teaching Mission, and more to come.